For more fairy tales and to support this page, please follow and subscribe. New story is added every week. Jack and the Beanstalk. There was once upon a time a poor widow who had an only son named Jack, and a cow named Milky White. And all they had to live on was the milk the cow gave every morning, which they carried to the market and sold. But one morning Milky White gave no milk, and they didn't know what to do. Jack, determined to help his mother, decided to find work. "Cheer up, mother, I'll go and get work somewhere," said Jack. He set off with the cow to sell it at the market. On the way, he met a strange old man who knew his name. The man offered Jack a trade, his cow for a handful of magical beans. You don't know what these beans are," said the man. "If you plant them overnight, by morning they grow right up to the sky." Jack, thinking the offer was absurd, but still agreed to the trade. When he returned home, his mother was furious with him for trading their only cow for beans. In her anger, she threw the beans out the window and sent Jack to bed without supper. The next morning, Jack woke up to find a gigantic beanstalk growing outside his window. He realized that the old man's words about the beans were true. Excited by the discovery, Jack climbed the beanstalk, which turned out to be a ladder to the sky. At the top, Jack found a long road leading to a tall house. He knocked on the door and was greeted by a giant woman. Jack asked her for breakfast, and although she warned him about her husband, who loved to eat children, she took pity on him and gave him food. While Jack was eating, he heard the giant approaching, so the woman hid him in the oven. The giant, smelling a human, suspected something. "Fee fi fo fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. Be he alive, or be he dead, I'll have his bones to grind my bread." "Nonsense, dear," said his wife, "you're dreaming. Or perhaps you smell the scraps of that little boy you like so much for yesterday's dinner." But the giant didn't find Jack. After the giant fell asleep, Jack escaped with a bag of gold from the giant's chest. Jack and his mother lived comfortably for a while, but their riches eventually ran out, so Jack made up his mind to try his luck once more up at the top of the beanstalk. So one fine morning he got up early, and got onto the beanstalk, and he climbed 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 till at last he got on the road again. All happened as it did before. In came the ogre as he did before, said, "Fee fi fo fum," and had his breakfast off 3 broiled oxen. Then he said, "Wife, bring me the hen that lays the golden eggs." So she brought it, and the ogre said, "Lay," and it laid an egg all of gold. And then the ogre began to nod his head, and to snort till the house shook. Then Jack crept out of the oven on tiptoe and caught hold of the golden hen, and was off before anyone noticed. But this time the hen gave a cackle which woke the ogre, and just as Jack got out of the house he heard him calling, "Wife, wife, what have you done with my golden hen?" But that was all Jack heard, for he rushed off to the beanstalk and climbed down like a house on fire. And when he got home he showed his mother the wonderful hen and said, "Lay" to it. And it laid a golden egg every time he said "lay." Well, Jack was not content, and it wasn't very long before he determined to have another try at his luck up there at the top of the beanstalk. So one fine morning, he got up early, and went on to the beanstalk, and he climbed and he climbed and he climbed and he climbed till he got to the top. But this time he knew better than to go straight to the ogre's house. And when he got near it he waited behind a bush till he saw the ogre's wife come out with a pail to get some water, and then he crept into the house and got into the copper. He hadn't been there long when he heard them. Thump, thump. As before, and in come the ogre and his wife. Fee fi fo fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman, cried out the ogre. I smell him, wife, I smell him. Do you, my dearie? Says the ogre's wife. Then if it's that little rogue that stole your gold and the hen that laid the golden eggs, he's sure to have got into the oven. And they both rushed to the oven. But Jack wasn't there, luckily. So the ogre sat down to the breakfast and bit ate, but every now and then he would mutter, "Well, I could have sworn," and he'd get up and search the larder and the cupboards, and everything, only luckily he didn't think of the copper. After breakfast was over, the ogre called out, "Wife, wife, bring me my golden harp." So she brought it and put it on the table before him. Then he said, "Sing," and the golden harp sang most beautifully. And it went on singing till the ogre fell asleep, and commenced to snore like thunder. Then Jack lifted up the copper lid very quietly and got down like a mouse and crept on hands and knees till he got to the table, when he got up and caught hold of the golden harp and dashed with it towards the door. But the harp called out quite loud, "Master, master," and the ogre woke up just in time to see Jack running off with his harp. Jack ran as fast as he could, and the ogre came rushing after, and would soon have caught him, only Jack had a start and dodged him a bit and knew where he was going. When he got to the beanstalk, the ogre was not more than 20 yards away when suddenly he saw Jack disappear and when he got up to the end of the road he saw Jack underneath climbing down for dear life. Well, the ogre didn't like trusting himself to such a ladder, and he stood and waited, so Jack got another start. But just then the harp cried out, "Master, master," and the ogre swung himself down onto the beanstalk, which shook with his weight. Down climbs Jack, and after him climbed the ogre. By this time Jack had climbed down and climbed down and climbed down till he was very nearly home. So he called out, "Mother, mother, bring me an axe, bring me an axe." And his mother came rushing out with the axe in her hand, but when she came to the beanstalk she stood stock still with fright, for there she saw the ogre just coming down below the clouds. But Jack jumped down and got hold of the axe and gave a chop at the beanstalk, which cut it half in two. The ogre felt the beanstalk shake and quiver, so he stopped to see what was the matter. Then Jack gave another chop with the axe, and the beanstalk was cut in two and began to topple over. Then the ogre fell down and broke his crown, and the beanstalk came toppling after. Then Jack showed his mother his golden harp, and what with showing that and selling the golden eggs, Jack and his mother became very rich, and he married a great princess, and they lived happy ever after. For more fairy tales and to support this page, please follow and subscribe. New story is added every week.